Good afternoon, everybody. I am coming to you live, hopefully, in your living room or on the road or wherever you are. Hopefully I'm coming in well, as always. We are moving things around, changing things around, so I'm someplace different. And one of the things in all my checklists that I had forgot to do was get an Ethernet cable directly to my computer. So we're going off Wi-Fi to stream this. So let's just pray this afternoon that everything stays good, solid connection, right? Because there's a Bible lesson in itself right there, talking about being tethered to Christ to make sure we are a solid connection. Don't trust Wi-Fi. Because that can be really scary if you just solely relied on Wi-Fi. But we are here setting up. Pretty sure I am completely by myself in this entire church. But this morning was the second time we're able to kind of be here together, both inside and outside in the field. And as you can see, I'm getting red out there in that field. I had an umbrella. I can't tell if this has been like this and I just never noticed it, or if I had the umbrella down and it was covering everything else but my forehead. I don't know. Anyway, so you can laugh and make fun of me all you want. I can't hear them, which is fine. Just kidding. So I hope you guys are staying healthy, staying safe, and man, we're getting close, guys. I just want to encourage you, from a ministry standpoint, from a pastor standpoint, it is very hard to go this long and keep people away, because when we do start back up, I'll be honest, my concern is who's going to show up, right? Because everyone is so used to this schedule, everyone's so used to it being a certain way now that, are you going to make the time to come back to worship? And I hope you do. I hope you guys are, if you're not live, because I can see who's viewing, no one's viewing, a couple people are. But, hopefully this is something that you go back and you watch later. You're getting fed somehow, some way. It doesn't have to be by me. It doesn't have to be from here. But I hope, my only hope is that you are tuning in this way so you can stay connected with me and I feel connected to you by some way, because you're jumping in and watching this, and you're just staying connected to the life of youth ministry here. But we are getting close, guys. We're just trying to be safe. We're trying to be cautious and not to. I really don't think there's anything. We've been saying the whole time there's nothing to fear with this, right? Everything that happens, we can overcome. We can get through, and so on and so on. So I really fully believe that we can make it through, okay? So it doesn't matter. But I did hear some things, and this was the concern about opening up and starting things back up. But there are some churches in like West Virginia who now have supposedly signs of, kind of an outbreak type thing. So we want to keep those churches in our prayer. But see, that's why we are trying to be very super cautious and careful without letting that drive us, without letting that fear push us to not meeting together and so on and so on. So, as always, I encourage everyone to jump on the Zoom calls and things like that. I know it's difficult. It's very distracting because it's more family time. It's more things you get to go out and go do and stuff like that. But church is church, no matter when it is, right? But if we are all as a body meeting together, whether it's digitally or physically, hey, we can make the time to do that. I don't want to guilt you into it. I don't want to make it seem like I'm forcing you, but I want to hear from you. I want to see how you're doing, and I've texted and tried to reach out to certain people, and you guys will admit it. You're a finicky generation to where you just give a thumbs up after I send a whole long paragraph, and that's all I got to go by was a digital thumbs up. So, I want more. I want conversation. I miss you guys so much, and I want to make sure, hey, how you doing? You really, how you doing? And we're really going to get into that when we come back, because I want to see what everyone has been doing, what kind of new hobbies you've taken up. I'll tell you, our family, we've always wanted to do this, and just like everybody else in America, but never had the time, or never thought we would have the time. But of course, we started planting a garden, just a small one, just raised garden. So doing things like that, you pick up these little things during this time to kind of pass the time, or because everything else is shut down. But hey, guys, we're getting close. I feel it. We as a church, we feel it. But yet at the same time, we're still trying to be safe. We're still trying to be cautious. No new news yet on camp. We're still kind of in that limbo stage. Unless I get a call from the facilitator guy there at campground, I won't, unless he calls me before then. But I plan to get a hold of him by the end of this month. That's when we'll really have to make a call on what to do, because then we need most of July to get the word out and get things processed and get things planned and started. So regardless of what we do, whether we are, actually get to go to camp, or we stay here, or whatever plans we do, but we will do something camp-like if we can't actually go and do normal camp. So keep that in your prayers. Because we want to make sure that we can get back to normal as soon as possible. And everything that, you got to plan ahead. That's the whole thing about this. You got to plan ahead. Well, to plan ahead, you have to plan ahead based on the conditions now. You have to keep that in mind. But by the time something actually down the road happens, when that event and things happens, it's all changed. But hey, we have to plan it according to now. So everything we do as a church, everything we do here is in the youth, I have to plan it based on the conditions of now and see if it makes it work. So, 3 weeks from now, everything's fine. We go back to normal. But I can't plan 3 weeks from now like it's normal. I have to plan 3 weeks from now like it's the conditions now, if that makes any sense. So just trying to give some insight, just trying to hopefully be able to share some of this so that it gives you peace. It gives you some understanding, because I know that's the most difficult thing right now is understanding. Because a lot of things are not going to make sense. A lot of things are not going to seem like they make a lot of sense, or you can't fully understand it. But a lot of thought process is going into it. And guys, I want to pump you up as much as I can for when we do meet back, because it's going to be, my goal is, I guess I shouldn't say it's going to, because then I'll be called a liar. My goal is that you walk in and I want this to feel like a radically brand new thing. I think we're all going to experience some new things, and I don't want that to panic you like, well, I don't like change. I don't like, it's not that type of change. It's a positive change. And, we're all going to come back into this fresh. We're all going to come back into here brand new. So I want that to be an encouraging thing. Let's forget the past. Let's focus on the future and what God has planned for us. I think God has something amazing planned for us. And this is a whole part of the process to make this awesome change for Him. And so I hope this motivates you and encourages you. And, we've had some Zoom meetings with some of the new 7th graders, which I'm so excited you guys are coming on and being a part of this family. And, it's been awesome the couple times that we've had meetings. And I know some were out of town and different things. And this whole digital thing is still hard to even do. But I hope everyone's going to just keep plugging along and we'll get there soon. But that's just my heart I want to share with you guys. As far as the church and the youth ministry here all together, but I am planning stuff. We are planning things to do. for this summer and the fall and things like that, to try to make it seem like we're getting back to normal. So look forward to that. As always, plug into the YouTube channels. If you've never done it, look back on YouTube and Facebook and look at all the videos we've done over the years. None of it's consistent. None of it is all there in the same place, but look them up. Just have fun with it, enjoy it. We a lot of crazy stuff. On the Tomorrow Show episodes, a ton of those on there. You guys can just binge watch if you haven't already. And good quality, bad quality, medium quality. It's all craziness. But hey, this is just, if you want to connect, if you want to stay connected, it's just a way to do it. So I want to kind of go into this new topic with you guys. And tonight, if you jump on the Zoom call, which I encourage you to do, a lot of discussion we're going to have tonight is based off of this. So hopefully you do watch this, or you are watching this, or you get the chance to watch it at some point in time throughout the day before this evening, just to kind of get yourself prepared. If not, it's not a huge deal. I say this and you're just going, okay, well, I can skip it and catch up later, but I will try to give some context to it later on this evening when we actually meet. But I hope you are watching this or just have it on in the background just to hear. But I want to talk about miracles that Jesus has done. And this one we're going to talk about today is very familiar, that you guys have heard of, but as always, hopefully it's there's something new and fresh about it to you. But we're going to look at 3 of Jesus' miracles in the next coming weeks, and so something to keep in mind and keep in your perspective as we go through this is about, have you ever seen anything kind of like changing right before your eyes? Something that, of course, Tricks and Illusion, you guys come here for youth all the time. Philip just dazzles us, right, with this amazing stuff. Even if it's a trick I've seen 100 times, even if I get a glint of maybe how I know he does it, man, it's still mind-blowing. Because something just radically changes from one thing to the next right in front of your eyes. And it's just wild. And so these are what we're going to go through this whole series is based on the things that change kind of right in front of the eyes of onlookers, people who are seeing this and witnessing this. It's just changed right before them. So we're going to be reading John chapter 2, and to give kind of a little bit of backstory, a little context to this, Jesus has just called his disciples. He just called them ministry. He says, hey, pick up your cross, follow me, let's go, right? They left everything, family, friends, possessions, jobs, all they left everything and everyone they know to go follow him. So we're doing this, and Jesus had just told him Jesus has just told them who he is and a brief description of what's going to happen to him. So, I mean, it's just real short, not a whole lot, but that's the crazy thing. That's an awesome thing about how Jesus was, is that, you didn't have to hear, him give a compelling argument. He didn't have to go and do this compelling argument to convince people, the disciples, to really follow him. He might have said some things, but just his presence, just looking him in the eye, there's a connection there that only Jesus can do. And that's what really there's something about that, right? You ever been around somebody and you're just kind of like, you get this vibe from them, right? Most of us excel at that feeling. I can really sense people really well, and some we have no clue, right? But he can just exude that because he's God. I mean, he's Jesus Christ. And so not only did his words convince, but just something about him made the disciples say, okay. So he goes so one of the first things they do, they don't even really start the ministry. Jesus says, hey, I got to go to a party. You guys coming with me, right? And it's not like that type of party. it's a wedding party. So John chapter 2, 1 through 11, and I'm reading the ESV version, the English Standard Version. You can read this in different versions, and it'll be kind of similar. It says, on the third day, there was... Sorry, something's going crazy over here. I hope we're getting... Okay. Sorry. Technical difficulties. I'm going to ignore it because I think the stream is still working. It looks like... Okay. Anyway, so he goes on. It says, on the third day, there's a wedding in Cana in Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus was also invited to the wedding with his disciples. When the wine ran out, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what does this have to do with me? My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Now there were 6 stone water jars there for the Jewish rites of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water." And they filled them up to the brim. And he said to them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the feast." So they took it. When the master of the feast tasted the water, now become wine, and did not know where it came from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew, the master of the feast called the bridegroom and said to him, "Everyone serves the good wine first, and when people have drunk freely, then the poor wine. But you have kept the good wine until now." This is the first of his signs Jesus did in Cana at Galilee, and manifested his glory, and his disciples believed in him. So number one, check this out, to where how this worked was sorry, I still messed up. Anyways, so if you imagine this, there's a wedding, and the way things did it, you can kind of paint the picture like it's similar to today. So they have these planners. So the master of the feast, so this person kind of in charge of this feast, he's kind of probably footing the bill or whatever, things like this. Typically what they do, and you can imagine the people that are providing, like caterers or something like that, right? Caterers are going to come in there where they're going to give, the best wine up front, get them kind of loose and get everyone relaxed, and then later on throughout the night, they'll start slipping in maybe the watered down stuff or the not so good stuff, and no one will know. It's a way to kind of save it, kind of way to not be as expensive. But what had happened was they whatever miscalculation happened or whatever, they're completely out of wine. And Jesus' mother, Mary, knows who he is, and he goes to him. And you gotta love Jesus here, because what does this have to do with me? He says, "My time has not yet come." And so, that's crazy. So number one thing to kind of look at, Jesus is completely human like you and me. So he's both God and man, right? He's both God and both man. So he has the same authority as God the Father, but he also has these human characteristics and attributes like we do. He laughs, he cries, he eats, he sleeps. You can imagine him being at this wedding. He's celebrating, he's happy, he's telling stories, he's making little kids laugh, all this stuff. I mean, he's human just like us. And so he's at this wedding, he's eating and with friends and family, and he was fellowshipping with people of all kinds, right? So he's fellowshipping, mingling. And here we look at kind of, this is the really cool depiction of what it says in John chapter 17, where it says, "In the world, but not of the world." Here Jesus, he's in the world, right? He's in it. He's fellowshipping. He's mingling with the people. He's talking. He's living in the world, but he's not of it. Meaning he might be in it and following along, but he's not of it. Meaning he's not letting this world change him and control him and seduce him that way. That's what it is. Like, I can be in this room, but I'm not of this room. I'm not a part of this room that I'm in. Does that make sense? I'm in it, but I'm not of it. It's not a part of me, and I'm not a part of it. And so, of course, once again, Mary comes and tells him that there's this problem. The host ran out of wine, and he hesitates because he's like, hey, my time has not yet come. He knows, and he says, what does that have to do with me? And he knows that what Mary's kind of wanting from him. He knows what his mom's wanting to ask of him. But he's like, my time has not yet come. And I love this. And I think it's something we need to look at. It's completely off my notes, by the way. But this is so interesting because, see, God has a time for everything. Even when it's God himself, he sticks to this timeline, right? So, or is trying to, because this is part of this. He said, my time has not yet come, to really fully reveal himself. So, if Jesus is fully God and fully man, he's obeying God. He knows God has a plan. There's a time and place for whatever. So, he tries to stick to, why can't we? Why are we so anxious all the time? Why are we so demanding of things got to happen now? When we have to fully trust and understand that there is a time for everything. Yes, Jesus did hesitate, but then he gave in. But he didn't, he was God. He still made it happen because God can make things happen. So that stuck out to me when I went back over this again, that he hesitates, but then he does act. But, his thing says, it's not my time. So he's sticking to a plan. So there is a plan laid out. There is a plan laid out in your life. God has these ideas. God has these plans for you. So we need to, and unexpected things happen, okay? This was unexpected. This situation at this wedding. It wasn't, you can't say that was planned. Maybe it was. God's the omnipotent God, not us, but according to Jesus' reaction, he's like, it's not my time yet. But see, God makes this situation available, makes it happen. So then you look at, okay, he hesitates, but then he does act, right? And so what does he do? He talks about these giant jars that they use for traditional rites of purification type thing. There's each of these giant jars hold 20 or 30 gallons. And he tells the servants to fill them with water. So if you look at this stuff, he used regular old water and these stone jars. Normal everyday things for this miracle. And you can see that there's no showmanship. So there's no like big like hocus pocus abracadabra, like, man, I must not be getting oxygen into my brain. Excuse me, sorry about that. So there's no like grand show that he's putting on this. So it's just very low key. And he used simple things. So even just the normal person, the servers, whoever is out there catering kind of this, the circumstances, all these things he used to perform any of his miracles, really. Just normal everything. There's nothing extravagant about it. It's just normal objects, normal people, normal things. And a simple command is obeyed by disciples and a miracle happens. So there's obedience, a simple command given, right? He says, Jesus said to the servants, draw some out and take it to the master's feet. Fill the jars, right? So he said to the servants, fill the jars with water, and then fill them and then go. So these simple commands, right? Just do these little things. And they do that, and miracles happen. As we dive into these other two miracles and other miracles throughout Jesus' time, you can probably relate to the same concept, is that everything is very normal, everything is very simple, and, the outcome is mind-blowing, right? I mean, look at Philip. He takes a deck of cards and can do some amazing things with it, different things. Ordinary, everyday, stuff. Quarter. I've seen do stuff with quarter with a ring on his, stuff. And so that's what it was. And I'm not let me pause. I'm not comparing Jesus to Philip. So I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that it's very similar, that Jesus is taking normal things and circumstances and he can make profound miracles happen. Right? That's just the power that it is. So, how often do we need to just obey a simple command to see a miracle happen? Nothing. What is wrong? Nothing complex needs to be done. Nothing out of our hands, out of our capabilities need to be done in order for a miracle to happen. It doesn't need to be that way. So we get too caught up in the miracle we want that we ignore what we're asked to do. So we want this miracle to happen, but we get too caught up into wanting it to happen and kind of foreseeing it to happen that we ignore what we need to do to make it happen. If the disciples or the servants or whatever didn't just ignored, drawing the water out or filling it up with water, it wouldn't have happened, right? I mean, God could find another way, it's giving that, but the way this miracle happened, it wouldn't have happened that way. But the servants did obey the command by filling these jars up with water and so on and so on. So, here's the other thing where Jesus performs a miracle in public. So he finally does do something kind of in the presence of other people, right? So we want things to change for us, right? What miracles could you use in your life right now? That's the kind of thing that we want to ask ourselves sometimes. Life change is a miracle we see right in front of us. So a life change is a miracle. Whether it's you or whether you finally see a friend come to know Christ and you do this significant life change to benefit God, that is that's significant. That is what that is what that's a miracle in itself, because you're seeing somebody changing their life radically like that. So when Jesus enters your life, you are changed. When you make that decision in your heart to say, I want to make a difference in my life, I want to change something, I want to stop sinning, I want to obey God, I want to see what he has in store for me, I want to see the plans he had laid out for me. When you do that, you're making this life change, thus a miracle is happening. So, because what happens is that he changes you from the inside out. He does things like giving you compassion for others, love for the unlovable, etc., etc. And that's where, I imagine people who don't know Christ intimately or know God that much, they look and they realize that you gotta love everybody. Oh, I can't do that. Too many people I hate, or too many people I don't like. But see, when God enters your life, he makes all these things possible. He makes you feel that love for other people, even the unlovable. That's the power of it. That's why it's so significant in the change. And so, the other thing to look at is that Jesus saves the best for last, right? Because, if you remember back in the scripture there, the master of the feast, he calls it out. He says, hey, most of the time what happens is the people bring out the good stuff first and they start going to the poor stuff later. You've actually saved, this is even better than the first stuff you brought out. That's made by God. But, he saved the best for last. So if there's anybody out there who don't know Jesus, this life is the best you will ever experience. Lost people think that life is as good as it can possibly get. And it is. They can't have hope in anything bigger and better. But as a believer, this life is the worst you will ever experience. See, Jesus saved the best for last in John 2, right? So he saved the best wine for last. So let me break this down. For a person who does not yet believe in Christ, life is it. They make it the best they can. It can't get any better. That's it. But as a believer, we know this isn't the best stuff. The best stuff's going to be in heaven. The best stuff is saved for last. When we actually get to enter in the gates, we get to be at peace. We get to have a new body. All these things. So really, the life we have right now is the worst. It's not the best. We can make it best. We can make it the best. We can try to make the best of it, but it's not the best because God has that reserved for us when we enter into heaven. So, same as Jesus did with the wine. So he saves the best for last for us too, and that's heaven. The perfect place. No school, no taxes, eat whatever you want, worship God forever. I don't know there's necessarily food up there, probably food for your soul, but that's it. So the last thing that I want to point out here, that Jesus' first miracle caused the disciples to believe. So the disciples' faith increased, right? That would be obvious. We hope that's what it is, right? Anytime we would see a miracle happen in our lives, that should really boost our faith in Him. And it typically does, and a lot of times it does for a short while, and then we lose it again for whatever reason. But the disciples' faith increased in Jesus after this. And each time you see Jesus do amazing things in your faith, or you see Jesus doing amazing things, that should do something to boost your faith. That should do something. If it's not, then, number one, you got to ask yourself, are you recognizing Jesus doing something amazing? And if you're not, then you got to start building that up. Scripture said here that this manifested His glory and His disciples believed in Him. So it manifested, it brought to life, it brings it about, however you want to word it. You see, your life manifests God's glory too, because His work in you is shown and proclaimed to others who might see it and believe it. And if you're not showing it, if you're not living it, then God's glory is not manifesting through you. But it should. That's what we want to make sure, is that God's work is showing through us and it's proclaimed so that others see it and they believe it as well. So I hope this is a little neat insight to this one miracle where Jesus turned this water to wine. He did it with simple things, with the things around him, and even though he was trying to follow God's plan for this, he still made it because it wasn't his time. He still did it. He did these things in the public so people really believed. Right. So we understand that a miracle happens in our lives when we make this life change. And anybody who makes that acceptance of Christ, their life changes. Thus, there's a miracle performing right then. So, like I said, read that again if you want to kind of cover that story. John chapter 2, verses 1 through 11. It's good stuff. It's always amazing to be able to look at Jesus' miracles, and we need to understand them so that we can look at our life today and our culture and recognize God moving in today, because He may not move and do miracles like He did back then, but He still does them today. Every day today, He does something in our lives. We just have to learn to adapt to recognize that. So I want to say a prayer, and then hopefully all this stuff worked and you're able to rewatch this later or watch it again, or share it. Please share this with other fellow students if you can, because I hope something of this was encouraging to you. So let's just pray. God, I thank You so much for today. I thank You for Your beautiful sunshine, Lord, and I pray as we do some amazing things in our life, God, that we are able to recognize that. We are able to see those miracles, Lord, and we are able to recognize it for what it is. Just continue to move in our lives. Allow us to recognize the plan You have set up for us, Lord, and that we obey those simple commands that You give us in order to see that miracle happen. So thank you so much for who you are. Just continue to guide us, protect us, keep us safe. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you so much. And I want to say something which probably everyone already dropped off in the video. I should have said it to start with, but today at 3 o'clock, there is a prayer event happening at Point Park, I believe. We're just praying over the city, praying over things. I encourage you all to just come out there. It's just going to be an hour. A lot of my fellow youth pastors are going to be there with some of their students that can go. So it's up to you. It's your call. But if you can't, if you're not going to be able to make it present, hey, just 3 o'clock, just start praying. Just pray, and you'll be praying alongside the rest of us. So thank you guys so much. Hope to see you back on tonight on Zoom as we dive into some discussion questions based on the miracles of Jesus. So thank you guys so much, and I'm going to see if this stuff works as we dismiss. So let me get this queued up. And we'll see you guys later.